Foundations of Storytelling. When I first wrote the Social Leadership Handbook back in 2014, I very nearly called it The Storytelling Leader. Because even from the start of that work, it was clear to me that stories sit at the heart of the type of power that we have as a social leader. Not power found within a system, but power outside the formal system, but nonetheless a very real type of power. Social leadership isn't about structural power. It's not about the ability to invoke consequence on somebody else. It's not just about following systems and processes. It's about sense-making, exploration. It's a type of leadership which is held with humility through the permission of your community. But social leadership is every bit as powerful as formal leadership. In fact, I suspect that what we need as we try to build a more socially dynamic organisation is both. You need the context and frame of the formal power that's given to you by the organisation, but you need the support and the sense-making capability and the diversified strength of the social communities that surround it, and that is what you will earn through your reputation, which gives you social authority within your communities. Now, storytelling is an important part of this because we can think about three levels of stories. There are the individual stories, the stories that you or I write. These are highly authentic, individual, personal, maybe in some ways quite small, but they feed into co-created, community-held narratives. Within our communities, we offer our thoughts, our advice, but we also nurture and support. And we talk about things, we make sense of them. A core feature of the social age is this diversified validation that takes place within communities, where we consider different ideas and different responses and we test ideas out. We often do that through stories, our personal stories, feeding into the co-created community stories. And finally, of course, there are the stories of the organisation itself. Formal stories often pushed down from on high. But in that case, the role of the social leader is to add layers of interpretation and to hold open a space for people to respond. Stories are the basic mechanism for the cultural transmission of information. If we meet for the first time, we'll share small and safe stories. We'll come together to ask, how was your journey? How's the weather? And then gradually we'll build up to more complex and contentious stories. And we'll be able to do that because we've used our storytelling skills to establish commonality, to establish our areas of difference, and to create a shared mechanism for our dissent, a way that we can disagree, hopefully, safely. Storytelling leaders aren't simply leaders who can broadcast loudly through a system. They're leaders who are willing to listen, leaders who recognise that their own success largely lies in enabling others to be successful. And they'll exist within organisations that recognise largely that their continued success will not lie just in system and process and their ability to control people, as it will in their ability to build a diversified strength, to enable, empower and support people, and to do so crucially in ways that are deeply fair and extremely kind. Because we exist in a society, in a culture that we co-create between us. Organisations with a strong culture, an inclusive culture, organisations that allow for the individual agency of every person within them, that can hear weak voices in the system as well as strong, loud voices in the system. Organisations that can enable individuals to shape and share their story, can listen to and learn from the co-created wisdom of the community, and hence can build an organisational story that's developed out of the individual agency and brilliance of all of those people. Those are the organisations that stand a chance of becoming socially dynamic. They stand a chance of changing and evolving to be fit for the pressures put upon us by the social age. As we develop our social leadership capability, we therefore need to think about how we can become storytelling leaders. And when I think about that, I don't think about simple mechanisms of storytelling. It's about how we can learn and rehearse and prototype actual techniques, and not just techniques that let us tell known stories in known spaces, but techniques that can allow us to experiment and engage with stories of difference and dissent and unknown stories in unknown spaces.